getting wasted.
Burk always goes through a pint of Jack Daniels before each episode, cranking George Thorogood. That's just what he does.
This is how you watch Vikram. Is this way?
I was getting drunk.
Not just drunk, wasted.
Yeah. I think you're supposed to take this little plastic thing off the top, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never seen that. They're always open for me.
I don't see any instructions on here, but I think you're supposed to take that off because then it can pour out.
The liquid actually pours out. Well, that's kind of a nice tie-in to the film that we're going to talk about today, a film called Vikram, which is out and about here in the U.S. It's on Hulu, which is kind of fun, so it's very easy.
So excited. It's so easily accessible. Sometimes it's really hard to find these big films that are huge in India, and they're just hard to get here, but this one was really easy to get.
Yeah.
It had all different versions. I know it's originally a Hindi film, but it was in all the other languages, which is cool. Yeah. And before we get into talking about it, I just want to just mention our little membership program that is available on our YouTube channel. For $2.99 a month, you can be a monster, and $4.99 a mondo, vice versa. Sorry, and look what you get for $2.99.
You get so much stuff.
Custom
emojis.
Priority replies, member shout outs, badges, and for that extra $2 a month, you can request a video, and we will definitely do it. We get a lot of requests. We can't get to all of them, but if you do that, it goes to the top of the list.
And
you have to be reasonable with the requests. They have to be reasonable requests.
It has to be stuff we haven't done already. Also, if you're really bold, you can send us a video of yourself asking for it. And then you can send it to cinemondopodcast@gmail.com, and we will use that video in the video. So that'd be kind of fun, right?
And don't forget
what I'm excited about too, I love the badges because
they're fun.
When you start getting the badges, like we have one for Cinemondo because I just like having badges. But it's every month it changes the color as you get longer into your membership. You get a new color badge, so it makes you look extra cool. That's right.
Yeah.
Achievements.
Let's talk about
important.
Let's talk about this film that we all saw. Directed and written by Lokesh Kanagaraj, and it's stars Kamal Haasan, Vijay Sethupathi, and Fahadh Faasil, and actors we've seen before in other films.
That's right.
And Kamal Haasan is the star, and he has that star power.
So good. Yeah. Oh my God, this guy was amazing.
Codename Vikram. He's the guy that the film is centered around his exploits.
And I like that he's kind of an older guy. He's kind of a little grizzled guy. He's lived a life. You know, he's not one of these sort of pretty boy types that you see in so many action films.
Right.
He's like a guy you can sort of believe would have a history in some kind of mysterious organization like that.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not like the super cut, Hrithik Roshan type. He's like just this normal guy, which actually is integral to the plot, as he's just this average guy. Why would anyone want to hurt this guy? Well, that's the whole context of the film, is wondering, trying the cops trying to track down, like, why did they kill this guy? He has a family. He's not like this, gung-ho crazy guy. So yeah, so there it is.
But it's a complicated story. For me, I had to really pay attention. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a complicated story. I mean, once you know the story, then you're like, oh, okay. The way they tell the story is little by little. Things are revealed. It's very violent. It's kind of a violent story, but it's got a little bit of a lightness to it. There's a bit of a comedy edge to parts of it. Unexpected things that you wouldn't expect, characters that you wouldn't expect to be this type of a person are revealed to be this type of person, and you're sort of really surprised, and it's almost funny in some ways. Yeah. But there's also some really heavy-duty, bloody violence in it, and some really horrible attacks on people and murders and things and shot. Yeah, it's like kind of unexpected in that way too.
Takes you off guard because there's sort of this lighthearted, like the Kamal, his acting is very winky, like he's very cocky, and he's sort of like almost looking at the screen going, that's all right, you're in on the joke, right?
He's having a blast
the whole time
doing this thing.
And then so when the violence erupts, you're like, whoa, what? Like you're just not ready for it because it seems kind of happy-go-lucky for a few moments, and then there you are. So
it feels like those tonal shifts, which I have seen in some other Indian films I've seen, and I'm getting used to that. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's not like a lot of other films will kind of keep a certain tone, and this is one that kind of goes, it goes comedic, then it goes really harsh violence, and kind of goes back and forth. I've kind of gotten used to that because I've seen that in other films. I've seen that in KGF, you know, I've seen that in even RRR, even though that's kind of a different vibe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I said, okay, that's kind of what we're seeing here. But this plot was much more, I thought, I don't know if convoluted is the right word, maybe complex. But you sort of had to kind of, you know, really keep in touch with what was going on. It was not something you could sort of watch half, you know.
It helps to see the Catty. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but Catty First, which is the film. It's in the same universe. It's a sort of a prequel to this,
right?
So you kind of get the context of these warring drug, you know, mobs, and the fact that they're really brutal, and a lot of times they're catching people in the middle, like that. Maybe don't necessarily directly have anything to do with it. So this has a similar feel to it where we have these drug cartels, you know, here he is, like he's seemingly caught in the middle, like he's, you know, the police. I mean, it's the opening scene. There's gonna be a little bit of spoiler.
5 minutes into a 3-hour movie.
5 minutes in, you know, we kill off a main character and you're wondering like why. So the whole thing is sort of this going into his past to figure out why the cartel would want to kill him.
Right.
So that becomes a big thing. And then you have, you know, them against each other. You have a sort of revenge plot. You have a plot where they're just trying to break up the cartels. So there's a lot of kind of mobster type like plot lines going through it. It's all kind of like the warring mobs.
Yeah.
And then you have the guys who are the good guys who aren't necessarily always good, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it does get a little complicated, but and you know, I hate to bring up Tarantino again, which I feel like, but it isn't necessarily like Tarantino, but what they do that's similar is that sort of humor along with extreme violence,
right?
And that grittiness that he is able to tread. That this movie did also, where you're entertained, and especially because of Kamal's performance is just so great. So you're kind of lulled, and you're like, he's so fun, he's so funny, and then you're kind of shocked when he does like crazy stuff, like you know, like So there's
it's hard to pull off that balance. I think it's really, I mean, Tarantino can do it, especially same with horror comedy. It's the same thing. It's very few films can pull that off. And I think this film in part ways did that. In part ways, I thought it sort of missed the mark just in some ways. But I think mostly because the plot is so long. It's first of all, it's 3 hours, which we're used to their lengthy Indian film.
Yeah.
But it felt like, boy, there's so many characters keep popping in and popping out. It's like, wow, there's a lot to sort of, you know, ingest and sort of keep the storyline going. So that was a little bit of I said, maybe they could have trimmed this. Maybe not necessarily the length, but maybe the amount of characters.
Yeah, well, and what's interesting is all the characters, they didn't feel like throwaways. Like a lot of the side characters are very vivid and important. Like even the sex worker that he goes to see, she was like a very vivid, entertaining character, and she was only in the movie for like 10 minutes. And then you have Agent Tina, who is a big surprise and a great thing that happens, and she's only in it briefly, but you get this really clear picture of who she is. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the universe, the growing of this universe. Like these are characters that can come back, and there might be an Agent Tina movie, there might be a Rolex movie. Who knows? You know, that kind of stuff.
And I like that he didn't paint them like wasn't totally black and white. Like the main person they bring in, who was also in a black ops kind of job. They brought in the agent, was his Agent Amar. Yeah. And he and his wife, that whole dynamic was very interesting, and their relationship was very interesting, and it just shockingly tragic too at the same time. But they make these characters very vivid, and you're kind of rooting for this guy, but you're not sure who to root for all the time. But he was also very vivid and sympathetic, and you were rooting for him. And when he starts trying to track down the mysteries and secrets in this Kamal character's life, Vikram's life, it's very entertaining and cool, like picking up the pieces and putting the puzzle together. That was a really great context in that film, I thought. I love when he goes out the window, like from the sex worker's house, like, now what the hell? Like,
why
does he go out the window for an hour? Like, he's out here going.
He handcuffs her to a bed, and then he goes out the window, and then he comes back and gives her a hug and leaves.
So strange. I know. So I love that. So there was and yet there was also some very shocking violence. But again, I like that because it was always like a jolt, like violence should be, right? They had a pretty great truck chase in it that was very similar to the Catty, where it's these great like huge vehicles being chased around, and you feel the vulnerability of the people inside of it. Like it felt very like shaky, and everyone enjoyed that too.
I like the I like sometimes there's a style of film. I remember there was a movie years ago called Run Lola Run that was so fun because they just you got the feeling, and you get this with some Guy Ritchie films. You get the feeling like anything can happen in this movie. It's gonna go nuts. It's gonna go over the top. They're gonna. I mean, it's real. I mean, it's about reality, and it kind of has some trappings of reality, and you feel like the characterizations and the acting style is like leaning towards realism, but then it swings back and forth, and you go into this hyper reality, and you have fights where people get punched and they literally swing upward from the impact point, because the impact is so powerful, it lifts you up off of your feet and spins you around in the air. And that kind of thing is, I feel like when I'm watching it, I feel like I want to think, okay, that's symbolic. That's how the guy felt when he got hit. Right. Or that's what somebody is telling you the story, and this is their memory of it, Yeah. But there's also some really interesting choices that were made by the filmmakers in this, as far as how they depicted certain things in a graphic way, in a visual way. There's like when you see certain characters at one point in the film, when they do this thing and they freeze, and then they have this graphic that says their name and all this, and it's a real it's almost like a page in a comic book all of a sudden. Yeah. And then there's another shot where it literally is an animated sequence where you're seeing a 3D animated sequence of something happen, like he's telling something and here's a memory of it, and it's really nicely done, and it gives the film like I always say, this sort of enhanced reality or exaggerated reality, and it fits in with that. The sequences where there's action and the lighting and the setting and the choreography is so deliberate and so choreographed that it is literally like a dance sequence. You're watching these movements, and it's timed out in this way, and the movement is flowing, and the people are hitting somebody like two faces behind them, and then and it's so unrealistic, but then it is like what I was saying, it gives it this sort of legend feeling, Yeah,
and it's consistently that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the cannonball, the cannonball POV was hilarious.
Yeah.
The only thing, there are a few things like women did not do well in this film.
Yeah.
Women were always punished for something or another. It was never good. So that was a little bit, even if they were strong, cool characters, they always got punished for it.
I know. Yeah.
That wasn't cool. Yeah. I did like the reveal of Rolex at the end, because we didn't know who this guy was.
Right.
I don't know if we were supposed to know who he was, but he comes in. It was a great scene. A super brutal murder in it. But I love that. And then they tie it into Cathy at that point. They do like a quick cut to kind of a present day. So you're definitely getting the idea that this is all in the same universe.
Right.
They don't rely on each other, but it was kind of cool little Easter egg to
They're
see
going to tie them together, I think.
Yeah, it was like, what happened to Dilly? Oh, there he is. You think. You're not sure.
Yeah.
And then, it's like some of the stuff was just, like the stylistically, so much throat slitting. Oh my gosh, so much.
And so many of those stabbings and that painful thing of like cutting the tendon, your Achilles tendon in the back of your foot. That's a pretty, it's like, eek.
I know.
Yeah.
But I like how they all like made the same mistakes we did, making assumptions about like the main character or some of the other characters, and then defying the assumptions, which was a great trick, because you're always caught off guard with like motivations, because you're like, oh, that's why, So I did enjoy that. But overall, some of the special effects were a little dicey. It did have the cutest kid I've ever seen my whole life in this movie. Oh my god, so cute. But some of the contrivance around the kid were a little bit odd, choice wise. But overall, I thought it was super entertaining. They feel like they were almost making like this sort of like jokey wink toward Western movies by having a very rock and roll soundtrack, and a lot of music was in English. And I kind of enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of a fun little like, haha, we can do it too. So I enjoyed that, but overall I did enjoy it, because that actor just carried this film so great.
I was going to say, he's really what makes the movie
so
work.
Good.
He has that star quality for an older actor to have to pull that off and do
so
it.
Confident,
just has it. He has it. Whatever that is, he
every scene he's in, you're like watching him. Like, what's he gonna do next? You know, he always has some cool choice to make in his acting style. It was really, really great.
He's a very likable character, and he's not just action star. You know, the scenes of him with the kid and everything is real genuine love, and you really get a feel. I mean, the guy is an actor. He's not just an action star. He's not just a fighting, gun-toting guy. The scenes where he wasn't doing that stuff are just as effective.
Right. They weren't awkward or like, this is a timeout for, his abs to take a break or something. Right. It was like, no, you really felt like they really cared about his family and it was important. Yeah, it was really, it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it.
He and I have similar abs, I think.
The 2-liter.
All that whiskey.
Yeah. It's all that whiskey and whiskey
Jack
that I'm
Daniel's
drinking.
Ab.
Yeah.
I did like that song though. It was so funny.
I'm
the
drunk
song is so good. I love that song. I mean, every frat house should be playing that on repeat.
I know. I want the single.
That was a real.
So there you go.
Vikram. It's available on Hulu here in the United States, so it's easy to watch.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. Always, it's a pleasure.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.